Hey, welcome back. All right, let's get into it. Let's go over a couple things, have some fun. First one, I don't have this set in the student preview, so don't freak out. Mine looks different than yours. Uh, One thing to talk about, lettering expressions. I think some of you have started to notice that color can be added to these. I don't say anything about color, but what I do want to say about color is be gentle. Um, don't do like, holy cow, I can do every color. Everything's going to be a rainbow and every gradient, but and you freak out. Know why you're adding color and why you're going to add color. If you're adding color just because it's pretty, it's not a design choice. You want to add color because it's actually adding to the design itself. I was trying to think, so like for instance, some people, here's an obvious one. Stop. What are you going to do? What's everybody going to do? What's the international color for stop? Some people started adding color to clown, which is great, but choose wisely. I was trying to think of an analogy about this. And do you ever go to a festival or a fair and they have the new slushy, system where you go to get like a Hawaiian ice or something like that, and they have the booth where you pick your own flavors, but like instead of like, oh, I want cherry, what does every kid do? They're like, oh, and they do every flavor possible just because they can, because kids don't have restraint. And if me as adult, I go up and if I have one, I'll just do like two flavors, and they kind of go together well. But I want you to have restraint when it comes to color. It is great responsibility. You start just puking up rainbows of color, I'm gonna say like, no, then none of this works. Like, why did you choose that? And you're like, well, because I could. I'd be like, no, that's not a design decision. That leave the rainbows for your personal work. Let's figure out what a design needs, and it doesn't need color. That's a big part. Like, does it need color? It doesn't always need color, but you don't have to add it. But some people have started to add it, so feel free. All right, I'm gonna jump, and I'm gonna leave that one at that. We know how to do that, and I think we're good with that. I'm gonna go typographic challenge, and I'm gonna set this first one up with you guys, with everybody, and point out some things I'm still seeing after this is 5. This will be 5 on challenges. It'll be 5 on the other one, expressions. I kind of see once in a while the same thing pop up in the build of the file. So let's make sure we're doing the correct stuff, but more on the typographic challenges. So this one, I'm going to go to File, New, just like we always do. 5 by 3. So it's 5 by 3 inches, 1/4 inch. Scroll down, more settings. I want 3, 2, 3. Spacing is 1 inch apart horizontal. That's all good. I'm not seeing problems there. Create document. This is where I start to see some problems. Is everybody seems to be getting margin right, but then getting crop marks, they're keeping on the color. So for the margin, again, it's 1/2 inch smaller. So remember, we can just stay over here. So 4.5. 2.5. That's it. I want the fill to be nothing. I want the stroke to be magenta. And then I'm going to center it. And I'm going to center it. Then I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to edit. And I'm going to paste on all artboards. Excuse me. I'm going to turn on my ruler. I'm going to pull a guide. And I'm going to make sure that's centered. And then I'm going to do 1, center it, 2. Oh, I know I did that because I didn't have my box activated. Make sure you're activated on this box. 2, centered. 3, in artboard. When I say box, I mean artboard. You have to activate it for it to center on it. because you have 3 artboards, and so the computer wants to know what do you want it centered to. So if you're activated on only one, it's only going to go to that one. So then we go and we just hit template. It locks it, it's good, and then I'm going to make crop marks, and this is where we run into problems I'm seeing. Is people are keeping the pink line on. So go here to here. It's the exact 5x3. Make sure no fill, no stroke. And then when you export it, when you save that PDF, I have, in the instructions, make sure the PDF preset is set in small size. Make sure the view PDF after saving is checked. That will open it up. If you see pink around the edge, go back, open the Illustrator file. You can go back to that crop marks and turn off you can still turn off that stroke. Make it to nothing. Like, fix it. That's why I have you view PDF after saving, is so you can preview your own work. I'm going to start like really cutting down. Like, if you leave that on, you'll be like, why did I get a B? I'll be like, you left the pink on. Why? Like, it's like 15 times we've been doing this. Like, kind of the increase of like understanding goes up. So then I go to FX and crop mark. So that's a big one. Make sure you're doing that. If you got it down pat, you got it down pat. Not everybody's doing it, but I see it enough to make a comment on it. So I'm going to copy, edit, paste on all artboards. Oh, it didn't work. That's fine. I can just do another one. If something happens like that and doesn't work, just make another one. It's easy enough. All right, so I got this done. Now the other one, it's called bleed. All right, let me get this crop mark in. And those are locked. So then I have my background. So say I want a color background. I'm going to zoom in on one. We are all doing, oh, look at this guy. If you see an errant problem like this, get rid of it. Delete. For some reason, that paste on all artboards, push it to the side. All right. I want a beautiful orange color in my background. Now, we all have this tendency to just be like, oh, here to here. Oh, look. And then now when you see this, there is an error with my margins. So all I'm going to do is select them all and make sure the fill is none. There we go. When you see an error, fix it. It's that easy. All right. This is my background, right? Oh, wrong. We need your background to go all the way to the red. Okay. This is bleed. So this is what happens is these get cut. It goes to a printer. I think I talked about this, but since I still see it happening. And if you just have nothing at that edge and it gets cut a little bit off, you're going to end up with a white edge on your artwork. And that's not what we want. If you want color all to the edge, you actually have to go past the edge. There's shifts that happen within the industry beyond your control. And so by having a bleed, you are guaranteeing that if there is a shift in cutting, in exporting, in anything, that there is room here that whatever it is won't get cut off. And that goes for anything. If you have an image and it wants it right up to the edge, your image actually has to go past the edge. If I have a line, it goes past. It goes all the way to the bleed. All right. So it's another one where I'm going to start hitting everybody with like a little bit more deductions when you don't pull your bleed all the way out. It's just, you need to start doing it. It is an industry standard. I'm just not making it up. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, we got to do all this weird stuff. Like, this is what you do as a graphic designer. Like, this is the things when you get a document and you have to pull bleed, else it comes back to you and you got to fix it. And then things are late. Yeah, I did talk to you guys about this. So make sure you're pulling bleed on everything. All right. Text in boxes. Let's talk about text in boxes. That's. Oh, I didn't want this one. All right. Ooh, this is a big one. All right, I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to open up Illustrator again. This is just, now we're in the design skills. So I'm going to make a type. First thing, let's choose Arial regular. Never, let's stay away from Myriad Pro. The other one, there's a lot of text. You know what? Go down, go small. It can be small. Don't worry, all right? We're looking for aesthetics. You'd be like, oh, but it was 6 point. Yeah, it's some of this is gonna be real small, but we can zoom in. All right, so I have this, and say I wanted it to be outlined in a box, and so like I'm gonna put a color box behind it, but not black. Say yellow, just to be gross. Object, arrange, send to back. Now, when we do this, this is the thing. I see a lot of this for some reason. Real tight on the edges for some reason. If you have one gap, the gap should be the same on all 4 sides, okay? So you have to adjust stuff. You can, and there's a million ways to do it, but when you get there, there should be a large gap. So not the smallest, it should always like be the biggest, or you split the difference. But if I want my text, I'm going to be like, okay, here it is. I'm looking. This looks good. This looks good. I have enough room to go down. And then I have a gap and a gap. And then I can make my box smaller. All right. But what you see is like there's an equal distance on all 4 sides. And that distance is a nice amount of distance. This is wrong when you got like, this is very uncomfortable to read. Like it's jammed in there. Like, I think a lot of other programs do this, and maybe this is in reference to older days and working in like maybe PowerPoint or school projects. Like that's what those do, but those aren't meant for professional graphic designers when you have the ability to like really make sure like you have space around items. Oops. That's what I get for not holding shift. So I want to make sure that like if you choose to be like box your text, it needs to be perfectly centered and with enough gap. Because you'll start hearing that from me a lot. Like, it needs more space. Like, why is it jammed in there? And I talk about personal space, and like that's my reference to it of like, well, how come it's got to be so jammed up? Like, why? Like, it looks uncomfortable. So I'm gonna do one more. We get this one. I get this one too. And I'm fine with this. Again, cancel. I don't want to do that yet. Paste. The Great Gatsby. Bold. I'm just making it big to see. So again, if I want that in a box, I'll do this. Object, arrange, send it back. And I want the text. I want that white, the fill to be white. Nope. Yep. Okay. Again, center it. I always see it's like lifted. So you have to use the right type format. So if you're like doing this and it's on, this is point text. If you're on area where it's solid, right? Clear is point, And then you can fill that box, I think. Oh no, maybe not. I don't know. But make sure you're centered, not up, not down. Like really look at it. And this is where the arrow keys are so phenomenal that I can just be like tap, tap, tap. Oh, you have to have it selected. Tap, 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 tap. And then if you're like, I can't, like that's bugging you, click off of it. Look at it, like examine it. You know what I used to do back in the day, before like a lot better tools came up? Oh, and I'll tell you this. When you do this, sometimes this using these center tools doesn't always work the best. There's a point where so maybe start with that where you go, it's centered, and then you look at it and be like, visually, I think it could go down one. And then you do that and you'd be like, that visually looks better to me. So there's a point of like, the computer does a ton, but the computer doesn't have human eyes, and the people behind the programming can't, well, thank God they don't know how. You wouldn't be learning this for a job if it could do it. But, like perfectly centered and like visually looks good, because there's tricks the eyes can play. So if you do something within the box, perfectly spaced within the box, not too tight, like, again, we're not doing this. Oops. That's too tight. Like, no, give it some room. If you wanted the box, make a box. Again, don't do the reverse and make it like grossly huge. But, get it centered, look at it. If it seems high, bring it down, tap, 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 tap. Zoom in, zoom out, make sure you unselect it. So that's like a big one. So make sure when you're doing the text, you're looking at it. It doesn't do it for you, nor should it. You're the designer. But then these are the tips, like get it looking really good. Because I know coming from I've seen PowerPoints and whatever, and it always like typesets the boxes weird, or it's like, oh, like that, and nobody changes it because they're like, that's how it should be. The computer made it for me. And it's like, no, the computer can't do shit. Like that's what it should be. So little tricks and tips, getting things centered, giving enough room. We call it margin. We have this margin that tells us don't put anything important past this point. Like I would never do that. But also there's a margin here. Like we need some room for everything to breathe, whether it be title, body copy, or as I've talked in the past, don't put the text right up against an image. Give it some room, give it a margin. So just rooming it. For the most part, everybody's doing pretty good, but I just want to make sure we're covering off on all the bases and how to over these next, what are we down to, like 6 weeks, 5 weeks, that we're getting things perfect. Like you learn now, you do it now, it sticks with you, you always do it, and it's just one thing you don't ever have to hear about because you're doing it right every time. So beautiful stuff. All right, let's move on. And you know how to do this. Like these are going good. I'm seeing a lot of great experimentation. The more you experiment, the more you'll kind of maybe hear from me, just being like, okay, I see that you wanted to try this. This is maybe the way you should do it. Don't take it as a bad thing. I just want to improve your work. I do apologize. I will finish off on the typographic challenges 04 right after this class. Ran into some complications this weekend that pushed me from getting absolutely everything graded on time, and I feel horrible about it. I do. All right. Design mission 5. Why isn't this blue? All right. Download. It's a zip file. So you saw what I did. Just hit that download, get it all. I don't know why it builds this thing in. I keep trying to get that out of there, and the computer does something. So I'm going to go to my Finder. I'm going to go to my downloads, and however you open it, you open it. There will be fonts included. Some Helveticas, all right? You just double click on them. Double click. And then hit install. If install, You can do all three at once. It's the same for PC and Mac. You just double click. Then you have the Helveticas that you need. And then we have our design mission, a 3-parter. Dun, dun, dun. Here it is. So you are building 3 posters based on the artist Joseph Behrens. It's kind of a simple pullback, maybe, like it'll remind you a lot. You know, it is the Bauhaus kind of period. And the reason I put this in is we're going to start like a little pathfinder goes here, working with text on angles and getting angles perfect on this one, when to use a line and when to use a shape. Because see, like all, like what's all perfect, you know, in size and width, these are all lines. And then the other ones are shapes. So you have to know, like, when do I use one? When do I use the other? You'll be doing some more refining and typesetting. Here's all the type. I have it all for you too. So anything, you don't have to type a single thing. You just have to figure out what goes where. It's a little bit of a puzzle, but they're all kind of grouped. So don't, like, you know, look, Stravinsky, Berg, and Fortner. See those? If you zoom out and look at the first one, Stravinsky, Berg, Fortner, that's where the text is. And then kind of the groupings, here are the groupings too. So you can just copy and paste that. Don't drag this over. Copy and paste it. And then it's Helvetica's the font. So I'm going to make a text box. I'm going to paste that in. We'll move over. I wish these updated. I'm going to try. I don't know why it's so, this came in so bad. I'm going to make a note to make a better one. There's something that happens when I export it and then upload these that it can't reference the higher res, and it puts in a different one. And it doesn't do it every time, but I'm going to try to get a higher res background image and send it to people, and you can just paste and replace. Just so it's clear. So, but here I got it. Okay, so I got my font. I'm going to turn the font white. I'm going to zoom in. Oh, now everything's fucked up. View. See this? I don't know why it's doing that. All right, and then it's Helvetica. And I want to turn it. But what happens, right? 1, it's not a 45. This is like a 30-degree angle. And then 2, you can't just turn it. You have to use the right tool. So you have to use the free transform tool to turn it. And then it's 30 degrees, I believe. But once you do 1, you have to make sure that they all line up perfectly. Okay? So if you do 1, you have to do them all in the same system. So this can be, if you look here, see that? I can take that out. I'm going to go to 0. And if you go 30, it turns it the wrong way, right? I'm using the computer here. So when it's 0, oh, undo. Oh, once I moved it, it didn't like that. So I'm going to go for this, 360 degrees is a circle. So if I do 330 and hit enter, or hit the right thing besides enter, it'll turn it on that angle. So there's a couple ways to do that. So here, that little is to change the angle. Then once it's set, like once you hit enter, then it's referencing as 0. But you can also then, once this one is done, copy paste, and then you can copy and paste text into these. So you kind of only have to do it once. And then I'll change the font to Helvetica. Oh, yep. And there we have. Like I said, I'm going to get you the proper higher res image for this to make it a little bit easier with the text. Now that goes the same with these lines. Make it easy on yourself. So I have lines. Sorry. You can draw one straight line. Make sure it's the fill is nothing. The stroke is white. Up it. I'm going to turn that off. And now, again, you can turn it. No, it's not letting me do it. But I want it exact. So you get one exact. Get one to line up. And then you can play. Get this one right. You have to zoom in on these. So now I have one, right? So I can just copy and paste, make them the lengths I need. And again, like I showed in the past, like every time you pull, if you just pull that edge, it just makes it longer. So you don't have to do anything. And then for the other ones, you do copy paste and you can rotate 90 degrees. All right, and then you make those. So differentiate where you want to use lines and where you want to use shapes. And it goes the same for making the shapes. You make a shape. Let's have it fill with white. Stroke is nothing. I'm going to zoom in. You make one. You get it where you want it. You don't get it perfect. This one you can type in. It doesn't let you do with lines, but it's 57. It wants to be 60. Adjust it as needed. And then copy and paste them. And then adjust them as needed. But everything should be, here's a 30-degree angles. Like it's either minus, 30, 60. And then you just go through it. Each one is kind of the same, except for this one, which is different. But this one I want to talk about is the Pathfinder. So we're going to make just squares, all right? It's 2 sets of squares. Get it where we want. I'm going to look at the reference. This is 45. And I can just make the squares. I'm always holding down Shift, right? And then we use our quick command keys. And then I'm going to redistribute. I want to make sure they're distributed. So they're all good. And then I go 1, 2, 3. Let's distribute those. Get them really good. Now then we have the bigger boxes. And I'm just holding down shift. And then I can match. Get them good. Now there's this area here where if I take all these boxes, it's a different color. So it's a color overlay, but we need to differentiate that. So I'm going to take these, make them the blue. Take these, make them the light green. I'm going to bring those to front. Object, arrange, bring to front. And then I'm going to use the shape builder. So we need to knock out these three parts. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to use the shape builder, which is the two circles. And all I'm going to do is I just need to activate this area, and this area. So that knocked out those three areas. And then when I click on those and I hold down shift, I can activate those. And then make those a darker color. So that's where shape builder, like there's no monkeying around, no futzing. You just overlay and then select all and use a shape builder, just like the bear, just like making the bear's nose. And then now here's the other one. We have bleed, right? And like, oh, but it goes into these other posters. Well, cut that off. Like go to the bleed mark. This is where, as designers, we have to go above and beyond. Like we have 3 posters all in a row. You could possibly leave it. Oh, I'm so sick of this. I get the wrong. That I can go in, select those, shape builder. I want this, this, and this. It all gonna make that one single shape. And I'm gonna click on that and hit delete. And then so now my triangle goes to the bleed mark. You know, like what was a square actually goes out the bleed. This goes out to the bleed. You can make it bigger if you need. All right. I'm gonna turn on this. And if you look, you can see differences in how I built things. These were actually, I converted these. You can do lines. Now, these circles, hey? It's all lines. This is like the cool one. And all you need to find one start point, nail it, and then you can go from there. So you're going to build one circle and then work from there, if that makes sense. So I'm going to actually, let's look at her, point, turn it back on, turn it back off. Now I'm going to zoom in. Oh, God. Sorry, I don't know why the scrubby zoom isn't set. I'm trying to get it. If something's not working the way it should be, and it's, you know, fix it. Somehow this system got the scrub zoom turned off. I can't quite remember how to turn it back on. Because it's one of those things. Once you turn it off, I never do it again. All right, fine. I'll do it later. I'm going to start with a circle. And I'm going to hit shift and Alt or Shift and Option and have it grow out from the center. Now I'm going to get this, and I'm looking at the edge right here, and I'm going to get it as close to possible. I'm using the arrow keys because it all flows from here, okay? And the other one to note is like, watch the gap. Once you make one circle, you're home free, okay? But it has to be right. So this one leads to this one down here. So it's not quite 100% right yet. So we have to figure out, I'm going to make it like, I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to make that circle go up. I want it to here. And I'm gonna do a flip flop. Like I want to see the stroke of it. And I'm looking at to follow one of these. And so it's on the inside. And I want it to be dead in the middle of this and this one. And see how that pink line is almost in the middle, almost in the middle, almost in the middle, almost in the middle. I'm like very close. You can get very close. But like I said, don't worry. Once you get one built, it all will fall in line. So I have the one. I can make it just like a tad bigger. I'm just using the arrow key. Like I said, take your time on the very first one. So I'm pretty happy with this. Okay, there's a center point. I'm going to pull guides and mark my center, so I know where that is. All right. Now the other one, so I'm going to actually lock my guides now. So I know this is the exact center, and everything, all the circles will come from there. Now, how do we make these circles? This is the fun part. This is what we've taught. I have one already. I'm going to copy that, and it's going to hold in the system. Beep, boop, boop. I'm going to make the stroke as thick as it needs to be. You're going to be going up to like 1,000 in the stroke. Okay? And I'm just going to increase it until it looks good. So that's like 27. It may be different for you. And then I'm going to pie piece it. And this is where it gets a little weird. And I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to bring the other one around to that mark. And then I'm going to grab the middle. I'm going to hit delete. So see what happened here? It stopped early. So I'm going to make sure now, when I make those, I go all the way to that edge. Undo. Oops. Oh. So make that line go all the way to the edge. So the line, I'm doing it again, goes all the way to the edge. Now I'm going to take that direct select, take the pie piece, hit delete, be done. I have another matching one right here. All I have to do is hit edit, paste in place. I know the stroke on that one was 27. And I just do the same. Grab that circle. It needs to bleed off. Oh, I went the wrong way. You can flip-flop these. I don't know if you know that. Like if you go past, it should understand it. All right. And then I'm just gonna delete those. Now I'm gonna do the inside ones. There's two for the inside. because I have that circle in my system, I'm going to go to paste in place. And all I have to do is grab this one and make it smaller. And I'm going to hit Shift and Option or Shift and Alt and bring it in from the center to the middle of the black lines. And then I'm going to make the stroke to a nice thickness. I'm going to copy, hold it in the system, and then create that line. All right. We hit delete, edit, paste in place. I got to do that little snippet right there. So this just becomes a lot of like copy, paste, delete, copy, paste, delete. Delete. And now I have those two. Edit, paste in place. I'm going to do the next one out. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Make sure you're holding down, Shift and Alt and Shift and Option so you get it from the center out. Let's increase that size. If it gets a little, if you're a little bit off, what I'm going to be referencing is like, do you have a nice gap in between everything? It can be fixed. Like you can just like reduce the size. I don't want you to end up like with huge gaps. And I know it's going to be a little bit harder to get things perfect, but you have every ability to adjust everything. You just got to take your time. And now I'm going to copy that because I want one the exact same. And then I'm going to see, now I can't. We want one edge there. And I'm going to circle around. Just going to go around the circle. The other one stops right there. Oh, grabbed the wrong one. Oh, it didn't like me doing that. Bring up that line. Delete the middle. And then I'm going to edit, paste in place. And I can just do that lower one. Ends here. And you just keep doing this all the way out to the edge. The final one I did by hand. Make sure it goes far enough out. It can overlap on that one, that's fine. And then delete the middle. Watch this video again if you need help with it. Like that's all I'm saying. And because once you do it, you're doing it again and again and again and again. You're just doing the same process over and over and over. It seems like really long, but you have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. Like it's like 6 lines, but it does take some thinking. This last one, I was like, I am not making a giant circle to pull it all the way out there. And so all I did was drew a box. We just needed something there for the fill. So that got nothing. And then, I'm just using pink to see it. So that's really all I did for that last one. That's why the last one looks goofy. So all of this stuff you have done before, but now we're just working on like accuracy. And like I said, I will upload a higher res background, or I try to get a better screenshot to place in. I don't know why it's low resing it all of a sudden. So, but yeah, that's it. So they seem simple, but it's all about accuracy now. And you should be able to knock these out like within the couple hours. Yeah. So accuracy. And then, yeah, I want your typography to be looking at the leading, which is not showing up here. Might be able to refresh this image. So yeah, let me dig around for that to make it easier for on all of you, and I'll send you all a little note about updating that image. So cool. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns? Oh, okay. I got a message very early on about midterm. No, I don't. The graphic design department doesn't do midterms or final exams. We just do the projects. That's it. Everything is a midterm. Everything is a final. No, we build and build and build, and then you move on, and hopefully you've learned everything. Hope that answers your question. Any other questions, comments? You know how to reach me. Reach out to me. Let me know where you're having difficulty. I'm here to help. It's all here. And like I said, the next thing I'll do is I'm just going to see if I can get a higher res image for everybody for this background system. So it's easier for you all to see. Like I said, I don't know that the issue with the transfer and why it low resed it. So, all right, cool. Well, there you go. Have some fun. I know you can do it. Everybody's doing very good. I'm impressed with what I'm seeing. So keep up the great work. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.